Good evening. My name is Brittany Edwards, and today is July 13th, 2021. This is Lab 2, the aseptic, and this is in Bio 225. I've already cleaned and sanitized my counter with bleach and with the 10% bleach solution. I've washed my hands already, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So it's saying that I need to take a cup and on the bottom I need to write alcohol. I'm going to write it on the sides too, just so I can see it better, just in case that smears. And then it says take my alcohol. And fill the plastic cup half full. So okay, so that's about half full there. So I'm going to go ahead and place that to the side and place this jar over here where I can wipe it off later. Okay, so it's saying that I need to place the pipette. So move my stuff around the pipette and place it in the alcohol. Okay, and then it says place a candle on the work surface. So I do have a candle here, and I'm gonna place it right here. So I have so far my alcohol with the pipette in it, and then I have my candle. So hopefully we can see it better like this. Good, okay. And then it says, place a candle on the workstation, use the permanent marker, and name a nutrient broth. The nutrient broth. And we are going to name this one E. coli. E. coli. I'm going to put it on here as well. So I put it in two places just in case my writing's horrible, but probably can't really see it that well. And so it says name it E. coli. Place E. coli vial labeled and nutrient broth on the work surface near the candle. So we're gonna place it right here for right now. Remove the pipette. It says remove the pipette from the cup and expel the alcohol inside the pipette back into the cup. So I'm gonna make sure that the alcohol gets in here and then remove it back. While holding the pipette, pick up the labeled nutrient broth and gently remove the cap. Okay, so I'm gonna do that again. I had to reread. So it tells me to get the alcohol from the pipette, continue squeezing to make sure there's no alcohol left in the pipette. And I skipped in the last video is that I'm supposed to get this out, the E. coli, have that nearby and the labeled broth that's labeled equally. So it's telling me to gently pick up the labeled nutrient broth and gently remove the cap. So I'm going to gently remove the cap and place it in the sterile area right there. Pass the lip of the broth tube through the flame. So here's my flame, here's the broth tube. Just going to go back and forth. And I'm kind of turning it so I can make sure I get all the areas. Okay. So I got that. So it says place the uncapped broth on the working station. So I have a stand right here. And it says repeat the steps. I'm just going to pause this. I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Okay, so I did read and I was doing that correctly. So it's saying to pipette. So I'm going to open this. Put that in the sterile area. It's telling me to take the broth and carefully not to touch, even though both items are sterile. And it's telling me to just take 0.25. Okay. Careful not to touch the rim. Okay, replace the lid on the culture vial and shake vigorously. So I'm going to put this pipette back in the alcohol. And shaking this vigorously. Until the tablet dissolves. So pipette the dissolved tablet solution from the culture vial into the broth tube. So now I'm going to open this up, place the cap in the sterile area, and make sure there's no alcohol in here. And I'm going to go and pipe it. And put it in the broth tube. Try to make sure I'm getting it all Careful not to touch the rim of the broth tube. Okay, I think I got it all. All right. Okay. Wait. So it says after after transferring all the solution from the vial, flame the lip of the broth tube, sterilize before screwing the cap. So I could go ahead and put this into the alcohol. And it says for me to sterilize the tip before placing the cap back on. Okay. So I ran it through a few times. And I'm going to place the cap back on. All right. So repeat steps 9 through 20 for the S epidermis. So, steps 9 through 20. Step I'm doing the S epidermis. Was label the broth. S. I'm going to put S epi. S epi. Okay. And then now that I'm done with the E. coli, I'm going to take this, place it back here, and I'm going to get out my S. I as well get my yeast out too, because I will need that next. My S epidermis tablet. Okay. So after I do that, place the, so I'm going to make sure this is sterile. Because I used it, I'm going to shake it a little bit to make sure that I am sterilizing this completely. All right. Making sure all the alcohol is out. Perfect. So I'm now going to take off this cap, put it in a sterile area for later. And I am going to run this through a couple times. And turn it around and do the other side. Make sure it's good and sterile. Okay, well after that, So I'm gonna do the same thing. Open this. Put the pipette inside. And make sure all alcohol is gone. Okay. I'm gonna pipette 2.5. 0.25. Perfect. Careful not to touch the rim. And then I'm going to put this drop down. Put the top on. Twist it and shake vigorously until the tablet is melted. Let me move this because I don't think you saw it clear enough earlier. So I'm gonna, let's dissolve. I'm gonna remove that top. Uh-oh. Fix this up. Fix that so it's standing up properly. Okay. Not touching the rim. Okay. Got everything out. I'm gonna put this now in alcohol to kind of let it soak. I'm gonna put this top back on. Place it over here because I am now done with that. And, oh, my stuff is falling. Put this back through the flame. Okay. I'm gonna take some of these out because it's for the next lab 3. I can now put this top back on and sit it right here. Okay. So I repeated 9 through 20. So using this, I am going to label this cup yeast. So I have yeast on this cup. I am now going to move the alcohol back away from the flame. And then I am going to open the yeast packet so that I have the yeast packet. And I'm going to open it. And pour into the cup. Now I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to put a 4th cup of warm water into this yeast cup and let it sit for 10 minutes. And then I will resume the video and continue the lab. Okay, so since I put the water in the yeast, it's been about 5 minutes so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started, since it does take me a little bit. So I am going to return my alcohol, and I want to make sure that this pipette is going to be sterile, so I have no contamination between the cultures. So I'm gonna fill it up and let it soak. So it's telling me that I need to label this one. So this one I'm labeling S. Cervece, I believe is the name. Oh, let me bring down my goggles, even though I have glasses, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so S. How do I spell that? Cervece. Okay, I'm gonna put SC over here, so just in case. So I went ahead and labeled my broth. I'm gonna start this flame up again. I didn't want it sitting while I was doing something else, while I was waiting for the yeast. So I go ahead and I'm going to sterilize this. So I'm gonna put this in a sterile area. And run this through 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to make sure I get all sides of it. Okay, so that's good and sterile. Now I am going to, it's telling me to repeat steps 11 through 14. So run that through and make sure I get all the alcohol out of this. I'm gonna shake it, make sure it's all out, keep squeezing it. And there's no more alcohol in there. So it's telling me that the yeast after 10 minutes should begin to froth. And it is. I hope that you can see that well. It is beginning to froth. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 0.25 of the broth into the yeast. A huge air bubble. Okay, perfect. Just gonna scroll down. Just be sure I'm doing this one right. Pipette. Okay, so it says repeat 11 through 14. I am not doing this right. Good thing I double checked. So this one is different. So I'm gonna put the broth back. Assuming because I don't have anything to dissolve. So I am going to take 0.25 of this yeast mixture And then I am going to put it in here without touching the rim. Okay, I'm gonna put the pipette back in alcohol. After transferring the yeast solution, flame the tip of the broth before screwing the cap back on. So I'm going to run this through the flame again, 2, 3, and 4. To the other side, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I'm going to put the tap back on and place this right here. So then it tells me then to get rid of the flame, dump the alcohol, sterilize, and clean up like I'm supposed to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and in 48 hours, I'm gonna check back on our cultures that we have so far and see how everything's going. So that is my part 1 of this experiment, and then the rest will be a follow-up. So thank you.